Mango flavour. Mango.
Hello, viewer.
Oh,
How are you doing? Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. Ben's sucking on an ice pop. You're a bit of a pop master today, Ben.
I am a pop master. Well, it's hot, isn't it? Phil, still, it's warm today.
It is warmer when we're recording this. It's one of those heat waves in the UK. Maybe by the time we get to publishing the thing online, it'll have cooled down. It'll be raining again. That's probably
Yeah.
more
Well,
likely.
when we say heat wave in the UK, normally by the time you've actually waved, it's gone. But it does make me think, actually, Phil. So now we've literally walked into this without even any idea of what we're going to do. But it is coming up for summer, and it does make me think what's not what songs remind you of summer, but yeah, what songs remind you of summer? Because for me, the summer of '95 always springs to mind, and for some reason, around that time, it was things like Edwyn Collins was quite big at the time. Do you remember that? I never seen a girl like you
Yeah.
before. And Freak Power, that tune in, turn on, cop out, or whatever it was, the Fat Boy Slim thing. Um, but those songs, that just reminds me. If somebody said to me now, "Oh, what songs remind you of the summer?" It's not going to be like "Summertime" by the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's going to be that summer of '95. Well, it was the year I left school, and it was such a sort of poignant sort of thing. I think Big Yellow Taxi, the cover of Big Yellow Taxi was out, and Supergrass and stuff like that. So it was a real sort of, and then obviously you had the Blur Oasis roll with it and Country House sort of thing. So the songs that remind me of summer aren't necessarily summer type songs.
I'll tell you what, I do remember from '95. I'm thinking now I can remember where I was working, remember bits about that summer. And I remember Supergrass doing their first album, and I'm watching Supergrass on the coverage of Glastonbury.
Yeah,
I also, do I remember anything else on that summer? It was around the time of Pulp, Common People, wasn't it?
yeah,
Was
yeah.
that, that was,
Robson and Jerome, I think, had the first hit around the summer of '95. Because I remember that
right.
being quite big around then. And I think Take That might have had Back for was it Back for
Prob-
Good or
I probably would
but
have
that doesn't
thought
necessarily
probably.
remind me of that summer, but that summer sort of definitely Edwyn Collins. Edwyn and Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me? No. Yeah. That was from that time because Kiss from the Grey. Kiss from a rose on the grave. That was '95. That reminds me of the summer of '95 as well. And I'm just gonna have a look. Hold me, thrill me, kiss me. Oh no, that's a completely different.
You'll talk about the
Uh,
U2 song from Batman Forever. Is that
Batman
right?
Forever, yeah, and I'm sure that was from 1995.
Okay, I do remember these, but I also, during that summer of '95, remember I was listening a lot to things like Jimi Hendrix. So for Electric Ladyland was big
Oh
for me
yeah,
then,
yeah,
and I also was listening to Bob Dylan. Highway 61 Revisited and Street Legal spring to mind as Bob Dylan albums for the summertime for some reason. And what else was I listening to? Probably Neil Young quite a lot as well.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Neil
tell you
Young
what
and
else was
Crazy
out around
Horse.
that
That's
time.
what was my '90s. My '90s wasn't all Britpop. You see, my '90s was a lot of classic rock.
My '90s was an all Britpop, especially that summer of '95. Because you had TLC's Waterfall as well, didn't you, around that time? And that was like a big hit. But yeah, I really associate things from that summer of '95 with summer. Those songs you sort of after you finish your exams, etc., and you were like, but yeah, tune in, turn on, cop out was another big one from around that time.
I remember all these, but I wouldn't have known that they were from '95. I wouldn't have no. I would never have been able to tell you
Yeah,
which year
I
these
don't know
songs
why,
were
but it
from.
would just seem to be and I think around that time as well, around '95 was when everybody in the area was because obviously was getting. Remember NTL, the old cable TV.
Yeah.
So people were getting more. Um, MTV and that was becoming more widely accessible to the common people. Do you know what
Okay.
the
Yeah.
first video I saw was on MTV when my dad got it, finding it at home?
Um,
Fast Love by George Michael.
okay. You remember
So,
watching that on MTV?
but yeah,
Um,
that's some of '95. But then, um, yeah, just wondering what sort of when you hear a song, is there a song that you hear and you go, yeah, that reminds me of the summer?
I'm just thinking, your memories of 95 is because you're younger than me, you see. I'd have to probably go back to the 80s for a year like that,
A
where I
lot
remember all the
younger.
songs from being from that year. I was too old by 95. I was into my 20s, so I was sort of still aware of what was going on in pop music, but it probably wasn't maybe registering quite as
Yeah.
strongly. But songs that make me think of the summertime, I think it's all 60s stuff, you know. I think it's things like
Beach Boys.
Jefferson Airplane, Somebody to Love, and the Beach Boys is an obvious one, isn't it? And things
Yeah.
like Sly Stone, Hot Fun in the Summertime,
Do you know
and
what? The song that reminds me of thing is because it's the opening song in Die Hard with a Vengeance from 1995. Um, but yeah, it's gone. Hot in the city. No, what was it? Oh, it's not the Oh, it's gone from my head. It's gone from my head, Phil. Pad for me while I find it.
it
Uh,
makes the hot weather. It makes me want to listen to jazz or like funk, like James Brown or Sly Stone or Miles Davis. That's what it makes me want to listen to. Something like Miles Davis on the Corner or Bitches Brew.
oh
That's
yeah, yeah,
summery
yeah.
to
Somewhere in
me.
the City. Yeah, the Loving Spoonful. That was it. No, I knew. I didn't see that reminds me of the summer as well because I went to the cinema to see Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Things that are hot and claustrophobic. But or chill. I'll tell you what, another great album is for summertime. Chilled out later in the day.
Right, Ash Family,
Bossa
Ocean
Nova.
Drive.
No, Bossa Nova. Frank Sinatra with Antonio Carlos Jobim, the Bossa Nova album. It's so chilled. If you haven't heard that album, go online and look up Frank Sinatra with Antonio Carlos Jobim. There's
Is
the
it
original.
a recovering from sunburn type of album?
The original album was, I think, 1967, and the original album was only about 27 minutes long, although there's compilations with a few more of their collaborations to make it longer, but
Yeah,
it's just so chilled out. It's bossa nova. It does The Girl from Ipanema and all that kind of stuff. It's really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's all the Yobim songs. And then, what else is good on a summer's day? Yeah, I just go to all the 60s psychedelic stuff. You know, The Birds, Younger Than Yesterday. That's a good one on a summer's day. Love,
Yeah.
Forever Changes. Um, I don't know, for some reason, sunny weather just makes me want to go psychedelic, man. But not so much psychedelic Beatles. For some reason, I feel more drawn to psychedelic Beatles in the winter time or the autumn time. I don't
Because
know why.
another song that might, For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield. Don't know why that has a summer feel for me.
Yeah, I can sort of see what you mean, even though there's nothing particularly
Summery about it.
to pin it on. But
Yeah,
is it just that 60s
yeah. I think
60s
there's something
Woodstock? It's
about
that
that.
Woodstock era, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's what it is. But it's amazing how sort of certain tracks make you think of a certain time. Like I said, when I hear Edwyn Collins, I never had a girl like you before. It just really does make me take me back to 1995. And I'm not sure if it came out in the summer of 95, but it seemed to be on a lot around the summer of 95. And then that cover of Big Yellow Taxi, was it?
Yeah, that was Counting Crows with some woman.
Yeah. And that sort of kept, yeah, wasn't it? It wasn't Cheryl.
Vanessa Carlton just popped into my head.
No, it wasn't with Vanessa Carlton. She didn't come
I'm
out
sure that
till 2000.
isn't that when it was? Wasn't the
No,
Counting Crows?
1995 was clearly not 2000, Filster.
Yeah, but when Counting Crows did Big Yellow Taxi, I'm sure that was 2002.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look, because it was,
You look it up.
I'll look it up. Big Yellow Taxi. It was written by Joni Mitch in 1970. Now, Vanessa Carlton did cover it, but she covered it in 2002.
Yeah,
Um,
wasn't that with Counting Crows?
no,
Oh, I
unless
don't.
she did it. But Counting Crows released it in 1995. Oh right, hold on. It was Amy Grant is the version I'm thinking of. And
Right.
Counting Crows and Vanessa Carlton did do it in 2002. So
There
it's
you
the
have
Amy
it.
Grant version. You are, yeah, I take it back, Philster.
My geekdom is
Yeah,
unblemished.
yeah. So that's yeah, just sort of. I remember the Amy Grant one. I don't think she did. She do anything else after that? I don't think so.
Wasn't Amy Grant kind of like an American sort of? She was mainly like an American Christian pop singer who did a little bit of
Yeah, I'm just having a
non-religious
look at her
stuff.
here.
I think that was her main audience was the religious audience in America. That was, I think, who she was. Had a couple of pop hits as well.
Yeah, because
Crossed over.
I forgot about the because Janet Jackson sampled it, didn't she? In that "Got Till It's Gone." Don't know what it's got till it's gone.
All right, yeah,
That
okay,
sort of dancey thing that she did in '97
yeah.
time, was it?
Was that the Velvet Rope?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that around that
But
time?
yeah, but '95 obviously for it. Where were you, Philster, on the day? Do you remember? Were you one of the ones who was tuned to the radio for the Battle of Britpop?
I don't remember. Did I listen to it on the radio? What when they actually counted down the charts? I suppose
Yeah,
I probably must have done, but I don't really remember the moment of finding out the result. I remember the hype around it. I remember going into record shops and seeing the Oasis and Blur singles, and I remember it all being talked about and the songs being played on the radio.
it was on
I remember,
radio. It was on news at 10, wasn't it?
yeah, and it was being covered on the news. But I don't really recall the actual moment when they announced that Blur had won.
Yeah, yeah. So I was in West Bay in Dorset when I had the charts on, and I found out.
And
And
it
I,
was really, when you think back, it wasn't really the right result because Oasis have always have I believe have more popularity with the public than Blur. So
yeah.
it was a weird
Well, when you
result
read
really.
into it now, you realise that a lot of the copies of Roll With It weren't scanning properly, so they
Oh,
never
that's
got
another thing.
counted.
That's right.
But also, if you're a Blur completist, Blur released it on it's not three different versions. So they had the
So
vinyl, the cassette,
they got
the
people
CD,
buying more variants, did they?
and they had CD one and CD two, if I remember rightly. So
Oh,
they had a
right, okay.
slightly different B side on the other track. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a bloody fly. The only ones that won in the end it just proves that marketing works, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Because both
it's
songs aren't the greatest. I mean, Country House. I think I like it more now than I did then. But even now, I just find it a little bit.
it could get a bit annoying. It's Blur doing the slightly towards music hall and being a bit like the Kinks, being a bit like
Yeah.
Madness. But yeah, I I must admit I prefer Blur when they're a little bit darker and more alternative
Oh yeah,
than when they're
the
doing that.
last album, The Ballad of Darren, was a really really good album.
I always liked side two of the second half of Part Life. For
Do you know
some
what?
reason, I liked it more than the
I
first half.
I don't think I have ever listened to the album Part Life all the way through.
I think you should do because I think you'll find when you put it on, you'll hear you'll start with Familiar, and you will hear one or two familiar songs through it. But I think you'll find that the deeper songs are not too annoying. I think you'll find there's a lot on
No, but
there.
I like things like the Universal and all those sort of
Yeah,
things.
I
At the
think
End of the Century, I think they're really really good.
you'll find some of them. Well, there's things like Bad Head. You've must have heard Bad Head. Was
Yeah,
that
I've
a
heard
hit?
Bad Head. Yeah, yeah.
And then you've obviously got Tracy Jacks. Was that a single? I can't remember. Was that a hit? Tracy Jacks. That was kind of like the prototype version of Country House in a way. And then obviously there's Girls and Boys, and then there's To the End, of course. I think To the End is on Part Life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we've made it to the end. And there's also, of course, the one about it's got all the references to the shipping forecast in it. About going
Shipping
round the
forecast.
Dogger Bank and what's it called? This Is a Low.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
That's near the end. That's kind of like the day in the life of that. If Part Life is their Sergeant Pepper, then This Is a Low is kind of like the day in the life. But
Yeah,
but
maybe I'll have to
there is some good good tracks on the
material.
second half. London Loves I like. Trouble in the Message Centre. Clover Over Dover.
Clover over
Yeah,
Dover.
that's a bit of a fun one. But I do like London Loves. That's really good. Um,
Yeah,
I'm trying to think what else is on the album. Magic America. That's okay, but that might annoy you slightly. But yeah, it's a fun album. It's a good album. It's an artful album.
I will at some point listen um, to this album because I tell you what I did listen to, and I had it on in the car yesterday. And it's an album from that period. It was released in '96. I was listening to the Manic Street Preachers' "Everything Must Go,"
Oh yes.
and I haven't listened to the album for a long time. I think since we did our favourite album was the 1990s, and even then I sort of briefly went over it, and I'm sort of torn with it. It not in a bad way, but whether it's just a great album or whether it's a classic album. I really I'm sort of on the edge.
Yeah, I'm in the maybe in the I've got the album. I own it. Um, I think it's a very good album, but I don't know
Yeah,
whether it would never for some reason it never makes my list if I asked to list favorite albums of the 90s. Um, it never quite makes it for me, and I don't really know why. And I can't really say anything against the album because it's actually very good.
it is very good. I mean, from the first track was an Elvis impersonator. I love the feel of that.
Yeah.
But then things like Design for Life, Everything Must Go are such big, bombastic sort of, quite different, far more commercial than what they'd done
Yeah.
before.
I must
And I
admit,
do like,
I got bored of Design for Life, even though I can't deny it's good. But I just got a bit fed up with it.
no, because it was played everywhere. But I do like their sort of, is it Design for Life that's basically about, which is the song of theirs?
I think I
Oh no,
prefer. I think I
if you
prefer.
tolerate this, then your children will be
Oh
next.
yeah,
Off
yeah,
the following album with the all the references, was it to the Spanish Civil War?
yeah.
I walk La Rumbas and all that, which is all basically to do with the Spanish. I think it's the Spanish Civil War. I could be wrong.
Right.
And then, but I really like the song Kevin Carter.
I like Kevin Carter.
I I like Kevin Carter as well.
Interiors, I like.
Yeah, Interiors and Enola Alone
Yeah.
because when I had it on yesterday, it came on. I was like, I forgot how good this song was to the point where I'd actually forgotten what the lyrics were, and because it obviously James Dean Bradfield and he sings some. I think because of his Welsh accent, boy, it's sometimes a little bit hard. What the? That is the world's biggest glass. What was that? I mean, I've just got a standard size cup.
I use this a lot. So don't you see me drinking out of this quite a lot? Or maybe you're just too busy going off on one.
No, I think you know what they say about man with a big cup.
But it is only. It looks big on the screen. It is only a
It
standard.
always looks big on the screen, Philster.
It's a standard pint. 1 pint. It's a 1 pint glass.
Yeah, but yeah, sometimes James Dean Bradfield, you sort of. I have this thing with the Manic Street Preachers where I love after listening to a song going back and reading the lyrics because it turns out that I can't understand sometimes a single word James Dean Bradfield is singing.
That is true, actually. I can't always understand all of his lyrics.
Yeah, like reading the lyrics to Motorcycle Emptiness is like, well, this isn't what I'm hearing. That like Enola Alone, I always think he's singing "I'm Forever Alone," which
Right.
and then when you read it, he's just literally singing Enola Alone, but you kind of your brain is like, I can't work that out, so he's not obviously.
What's the other one? Yeah, Motorcycle Emptiness. I must admit, I can have the chorus in my mind now. I can't remember what else he sings in the chorus apart from Motorcycle Emptiness.
It's
I know
well, I'll tell
I've
you
got the
what.
tune in my head, but I can't think. I wouldn't be able to tell you what the lyrics are.
Here we go, Motorcycle Emptiness. Right, I've got the lyrics here. Are you ready
Yeah.
for this?
Okay.
Um, so obviously you got the so the verse starts off with culture sucks down words, itemize loathing and feed yourself smiles. So anyway, but the chorus is under neon loneliness, motorcycle emptiness.
Is that what it
Under
is?
neon loneliness,
Underneath
motorcycle emptiness. That is basically the words to it. But he's singing.
What is motorcycle emptiness?
I don't know. Is it the fact that when you're on a motorbike, you're kind of on your own and you're kind of like this solitary? Um,
Is that what it is? You're travelling through life alone, and so you're. Is that what it is? Is it a metaphor for sort of going
being,
along alone and not engaging with anybody? Is that what it's supposed
yeah,
to
I
be?
mean, verse two is very, very, very upbeat. Are you ready?
Yeah, Richie Edwards at his happiest, is it?
Oh, he is full on happy. He's obviously been into the range, got a good bargain, come home. I am top of the world. Life's life lies a slow suicide, orthodox dreams and symbolic myths. From feudal serf to spender, this wonderful world of purchased power, just like lungs sucking on air, survival's natural as sorrow, sorrow, sorrow. I mean, I'm upbeat. I mean, it's a great song. I'd love it. I think it's more. I think more for its melody probably than its lyrical output. Because again, you can't really tell what James Dean Bradfield's singing. So I have this really cool, not cool because it's not, it is cool. But I like listening to a song and then going back and listen to the Manic's lyrics, reading them and going, that is not what I've just heard coming out the speaker. You
I,
know.
I don't know what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, they are a good band and they are talented, and I do dig some of the music, but for some reason they perhaps just never quite became my band. Maybe that's what it is. They were just never a band that I totally bought into. I don't know exactly why that is.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they're always quite
The
political, weren't they? But I'm not against bands who do that a bit of that kind of thing. I mean, as you
no.
know, I like REM and I like U2, and they've done that kind of thing. So I mean, it's not that I can't really criticise them for the fact that they do, some slightly pretentious political ranting on occasion.
No,
I'm
no,
not
but
against people doing that,
at the
but
end of the day, you sort of write about what your bag is, don't you?
yeah,
I watched last night. I caught an interview with Noel Gallagher, being interviewed by Cat Deeley on SMTV,
come on, was this
and
back in the '90s?
yeah, yeah, and I think I watched a couple, so I could be getting confused here. But in one of the interviews I watched yesterday, like you said, he he was 35 and they were asking about his songwriting. He said, "Well, I can't write a song like um, Rock and Roll Star because I'm not in my 20s. I'm not on the dole, And you tend to write
Yeah,
what you can relate to, I suppose. So the Manics were obviously were. I mean, I don't know if they still are. I mean, I was reading the reviews on a lot of their later albums. They oh god, they are a steady. None of their albums drop below like a 7. And you look at like All Music and all this sort of stuff. They are a consistent, but it's whether I don't know. It's a bit like Muse. I mean, I've never really listened to Muse. I prefer the Manics over Muse,
are
but
the
I've never listened to
Manics? This is what's just
Muse.
popped into my head when you said that their albums are quite consistent. And it's surprising in the way that they've gone on for a long time, because they're the sort of band you would have thought would have been around for a short while, political, capture the
Then died
zeitgeist, and
off.
then boom, and off they go. But they've stuck around. Obviously, that's possibly partly due to the fact that Richie Edwards left in whatever way he left. We don't really know
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
for sure. But without him, obviously, maybe if he'd stayed in the band, maybe the band would have ended up splitting up because he would have been the figure that didn't want to carry on with it, and maybe it
Yeah,
would have.
maybe, because they
It was the
do
fact that they
still.
they carried on. It kind of in tribute to him, didn't they? And
Yeah, yeah, because they
is that
still
what brought
split
them
the
together?
royalties 4 ways, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. So that was maybe what's held them together. Is that they're kind of mourning him and they're doing it in a tribute to him, So that's why they stay together, whereas otherwise they perhaps wouldn't have stayed together. But it's just made me think, are the Manic Street Preachers kind of like the British version of Pearl Jam, in the sense that Pearl Jam, when they started, were part of this Seattle scene, the grunge stuff, and they were supposedly cool, although they were never quite as cool as Nirvana, were they? But they were
No.
considered quite cool. But they were considered to be fairly cool and a little bit political with a lot of their songs like Jeremy and whatever. And you would have think maybe a band like that wouldn't last, but then they just carried on making albums, and they may not have made classic albums every time, but they're
They make
good enough to keep the fans happy, and they are still solidly a good band still, and they
yeah,
do a good
maybe
show.
that's probably might be part of their why they've never been. I mean, there was that period late '90s where they were big, weren't they? They were big, where and I think I've said it about was it one of the Paul Weller albums or I can't remember, but because everything's so consistent,
Yeah,
there's not a spike or a drop. So sometimes on an album it can be a really good album, but if you've got those couple of rises of like great singles, then it captures you more. Whereas if everything's just really good, you kind of think it almost drops it down a level because there's
you haven't
no
got those things to remember, maybe,
yeah
and you have to
yeah
get
maybe
more
because
into it.
there's no sort of and maybe that's why sort of everything must go probably stand up because you did have things like Australia, Kevin Carter, Design for Life, which were these big hits, so to speak, and then you had things like Elvis Impersonator, Enola Alone, and sort of stuff. So you had good quality, album tracks as well as these big singles, and sometimes maybe some of these bands they kind of just because they're so consistent, it also sort of it's really really good, but because there's not that peak, it kind of brings it down a level. Maybe, or am I just being overthinking this?
You may be, but you kind of have a point that there are some albums that don't have songs on them that are radio suitable. They're not really sort of hit song type material, and so those albums tend to stay encapsulated as an album,
Yeah,
and you don't have hits on them. Which I must admit, I do like those kinds of albums because there's nothing on them that's over familiar. So you put the album on, and it's all stuff that you're just hearing on that album, rather than, oh yeah, I've heard this on the radio 5 million times. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes albums almost, for me, get a little bit ruined by having too many hits on them because then half of it's super familiar and half of it's unfamiliar.
yeah,
I mean,
and
for a while, REM Automatic for the People was slightly ruined for me by it being played on the radio all the time, or half of
yeah.
it.
And I suppose I bet there is a lot of people out there, and I'm one of them, who have bought albums on the strength of the singles. So then you end up skipping tracks and only listening to those singles. So you
Yeah.
never get to hear the rest of the album, which is why I suppose vinyl's great because it's such a pain in the nuts to skip a track on it. So you
Yes.
have to listen to it all the way through.
Yeah, being forced in one way or another to listen is, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the time, it's all to do with dopamine, isn't it? Because people want
You're
to
a rapper.
people want to enjoy. It sounds like one, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People want to enjoy music when they put it on, and if you've got a CD and it's got a hit single on it, and you like the hit single, when you play that, you get a little dopamine hit in your brain because you're enjoying that hit single. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you've got
Because you're
to make
familiar with it.
yeah, exactly, and if you've got to make your way through a whole load of unfamiliar songs, that's harder work, and
Yeah,
you don't get as much instant reward for that work.
yeah,
It's only sometimes if you listen to the album a few times and it starts to become more familiar to you, then maybe the album can become a very rewarding
yeah,
experience. But
yeah.
you have to get into it.
And I think that's more said for bands that sort of sit on your periphery. So say, you know,
Yeah,
I make no bones about, if I buy a Noel Gallagher album or an Oasis album or, I mean, I can only dream the New Radicals doing a second album or a Beatles album or something like that. If it's a new album,
you'll
like Hackney Diamonds
concentrate
or the
on.
Rolling Stones, I kind of know what I'm getting. I'm not going to get avant-garde jazz thrown at me. So you kind of know. But when it's a band on your periphery that you enjoy the singles, you are kind of in that thing of, am I going to enjoy what's coming next?
Yeah.
Something like that.
It can take longer to get into them, can't it? And yes, if you're not as interested or invested in the band, then you're not going to also necessarily give them the level of attention.
Yeah. Which is why I've never listened to a Muse album. I quite like some of the singles, but I just don't. I don't know. I just can't. Do you know when you've not tried something, but you think you won't like it, so you don't want to do it. Maybe it's, maybe it's my autism. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, maybe it's just because you enjoy those singles and you don't, and maybe they're just enough for you, and you don't want to ruin it.
Am I the only person out there? And this goes a question to everybody out there. I mean, as we have learned over the last 3 odd years of me and Phil doing this, I am a massive child, and I'm not going to lie, but I can't be the only one that when Muse released the single Supermassive Black Hole didn't go Don't ask me why, but it just made me laugh. So well done, Matt Bellamy, for that. So do you know what, Phil? So we've done quite well there. We've discussed summer hits, and I think we need to go more into depth into our probably our 5 top summer hits. And they don't have to necessarily be summer songs. But I also think that... Oh, I'll tell you what I will bring up before is Sean Moore from the Manic Street Preachers. Do you know when you see a picture of someone, you're like, who's that? I've been watching a documentary of Manics, and they're interviewing Sean Moore, the drummer. And I mean, bless him, he's not the tallest of men, and I think, if he's watching, which he will be, he won't mind me saying that. And he used to have really long hair. And then they cut to another thing, and he's gone for the Phil. He's got the Phil haircut. And it really threw me, because I was like, I don't know who you are. It was such a... Because I haven't seen him for so long. I was like, what? What? He's just gone. Just gone, Phil. I mean, yeah, it just completely... He did look a little bit odd, though, with long hair. It's almost like an awkward thing that I think he grew it probably just to, so he didn't have to show it. But anyway, we've discussed the Manics. I think we should do a deeper dive on the Manics at some point, because I think there's some really good stuff out there. I've got... Actually, talk of the Manics, actually. I did get this the other week. I did get... I think it's 2002. I think this came out to 2002. That one. Know Your Enemy.
I think I've seen that one before. Yes.
Which I believe is not their 5th or 6th album, and it's the first album. So I mean, the Manics started in the 80s, I believe. So it took to 2002 for James Dean Bradfield to have a song which he wrote the lyrics solely on his own on. Yeah. Anyway, that's the Manics. I'm off to go and buy a horse.
Well, we've done half an hour on that show, so I think
we need to quit. Let's go, Phil.
At that point, we'll quit this show. Thank you for watching, viewer. I hope you've enjoyed our ramblings. We'll be back with another one very soon. Bye for now.
Ciao.